The ever-increasing prominence with which these labels appear on the everyday necessities that we buy is a clear indication of the expansion which the country's industries have experienced in recent years. This rapid development is nowhere more evident than in our secondary industries. A decade of brisk advancement has taught South Africans to place more reliance on the products of their own factories, and more they are satisfying the demands for a growing variety of consumer goods. Those everyday articles used by every person and in every household. Unable to import all our needs due to the shortage of foreign currencies, local enterprise stepped in to provide much of the nation's requirements. The range and quality of South African merchandise offered to the buying public has never been higher. Yet, in spite of the intense industrial activity and competition that today exists, there has for some years past been a realization among leaders of commerce and industry that a long-standing prejudice among consumers existed against the products of local factories. To foreign manufacturers, the Union offered rich and ready markets, for among the people there existed a pronounced bias in favor of overseas commodities. This prejudice in the mind of the buying public was in many cases well founded on the grounds of poor quality, and to the government it was a source of concern. Fully knowing that such doubts could cause irreparable harm to the industrialization program of the country, an Act of Parliament was passed in September of 1945, which was designed to provide a seal of quality for South African products. To the consumer, it would mean an added confidence in the goods he was buying. The Standards Act authorized the establishment of the South African Bureau of Standards. On the 1st of January 1946, the Bureau came into operation in Pretoria. From its inception, the director of the Bureau, Mr. James Ritchie, guided the growth of the organization. Until today, there exists 18 laboratories and sections staffed by almost 300 technical experts. At their disposal is over £250,000 worth of elaborate and specially designed equipment. Day after day, the Bureau of Standards, by patient and exhaustive testing, is carrying out the functions for which it was created, to assume a leading role in improving the quality of manufactured goods produced in South Africa, and to provide protection to the consumer. The South African Bureau of Standards is controlled by a special board appointed by the Minister of Economic Affairs and known as the Standards Council. At the request of any manufacturer, the Council considers whether there is a good case for preparing a standard of quality for his products. If this is agreed to, a standard is then drawn up by a technical committee who have at their disposal the Bureau's testing facilities. The standard lays down for the product such minimum requirements as quality, strength, purity, durability, and safety. When the manufacturer produces his product in accordance with the requirements laid down in the standard of quality, he is permitted to apply to it the mark of the South African Bureau of Standards. An indication of the thoroughness of the Bureau's work of testing can be found in the textile laboratories, the only fully equipped ones of their kind in Africa. The humidity and temperature in these laboratories are kept constant, enabling all tests at any time to be conducted under the same standard conditions. One of the many tests to which materials are subjected is carried out on this machine. It determines the strength and elasticity of fibers and yarns. The amount of pull required before the material breaks is accurately registered. Experiments are carried out to discover the amount of shrinkage during washing or dry cleaning. This apparatus, known as a phaedometer, reproduces the effects of sunlight. It enables laboratory personnel to measure the color fastness of dyes and printed patterns. By a score of searching tests, the full weight of scientific analysis is brought to bear on any fabric before it receives the approval of the Bureau's textile laboratories. In past years, a large proportion of the Union's electrical requirements had of necessity to be imported. Today, however, the electrical engineering industry in South Africa is satisfying much of the country's demands for a variety of appliances and accessories. Parallel with this development is the growth of the electrical engineering division of the Bureau of Standards. Already many manufacturers have been encouraged by test results to produce their products in accordance with the division's approved quality and safety requirements. In this complex field, almost the entire emphasis is placed on safety. Here, for instance, the insulation covering of electric wiring is undergoing an abrasive test. The pendulum is covered with sandpaper, and when it is worn through the insulation, the number of movements registered on the counter indicates its strength. Here, a variety of switches are being tested. Once again, the number of mechanical movements the switch stands up to before failing is recorded. In a world experiencing a grave shortage of basic materials, it is both an economic and common sense necessity to put a nation's own resources to its best use. South Africa's softwood forests are a case in point. For many years there has been a marked prejudice against locally produced timber, and yet there is nothing inherently wrong with the wood itself. There were many shortcomings, however, in the treatment and marketing of this commodity. Personnel of the timber section of the Bureau of Standards have been working on a solution to these and many other problems that affect the Union's timber industry. Foremost among their recommendations is a standard for the more accurate grading of woods. This will ensure a uniform quality and standard throughout any batch of timber marked first, second or third grades. Another specification that has been drawn up gives the correct standard names of South African timber. This will avoid the confusion that existed in the past when many woods had no universally accepted names. The best methods of chemically impregnating timber to resist termites and decay are also recommended. Any articles made of timber bearing the SABS mark carry the assurance that the producers have complied with these and many other standards. In the Bureau's packaging and container division, a large variety of containers undergo performance tests to discover how they will stand up to the hazards of transportation and general handling. This tumbling barrel indicates how much wear and tear a packing case will withstand. The ability of a package to protect its contents is an important factor. Slide rails are used to test the strength of containers under impact. Already many South African manufacturers and merchants have conformed to the Bureau's packaging standards, ensuring that their products will reach their destinations undamaged and without loss. Much of the work being done by the Bureau of Standards today may on the surface appear to be of no direct concern to the average individual. In the broader aspects of the lives of the people, however, this work is of considerable importance. In the Civil Engineering Division, for example, building materials of every description undergo severe tests to determine their suitability. Another aspect of the division's work involves the preparation of a set of model building regulations, which it is hoped will be adopted by the majority of the country's municipalities. By the standardization of the building bylaws and regulations of local authorities, a long-felt need for a degree of uniformity in the building industry will be met. Part of the Bureau's model building regulations deal with urban aesthetics. These recommendations provide a method for achieving architectural harmony in built-up areas. Buildings should blend in with their surroundings, for the psychological effect of living and working in attractive surroundings cannot be ignored. Here is a fine example of architectural harmony in which the designs of neighboring buildings blend with one another. Another specification which is being drawn up in the Bureau's microbiological laboratories covers all aspects of the purity of water for drinking and domestic use. The standards of purity stipulate that the water must be clean and free from sediment, devoid of any odor or taste and free from any harmful bacteria. These exacting standards ensure that drinking and domestic water is at all times free from any form of contamination. Thus, in many unfamiliar but important fields, the Bureau of Standards is working for the safety, comfort and protection of everyone. In no branch of manufacture in recent years has there been a more phenomenal development than in the canned foods industry. In addition to supplying a major portion of the country's needs, much is today being exported. To the shopping public, there is no branch of industry with which they are more directly concerned. For of paramount importance to the health of the people is the purity and quality of these products. Realizing the need for fully equipped analytical laboratories that could serve all manufacturers and so provide facilities that would not otherwise exist, the Bureau of Standards established a foods division. Here, the division's laboratory staff, after exhaustive tests and investigations, draw up standards of quality covering such factors as cleanliness of factories, quality of raw materials, correct processing methods, and the quality of the finished product. Already many quality standards have been drawn up covering a wide range of foods. To ensure that there is no falling off of the quality of any commodity bearing the SABS mark, inspectors of the Foods Division make frequent calls on the factories in which they are manufactured. This constant re-examination ensures that the foodstuff is at all times produced under the most hygienic conditions. And so we find that once again, at no extra cost, the SABS mark is providing protection to the consumer. Today, the South African Bureau of Standards is constantly expanding to meet the demands of the country's flourishing economy. For there is a growing acceptance of the value of standardization in modern industry and commerce. If South Africa's industries are to develop along healthy, progressive lines, the quality of their products will have to be sufficiently high to meet any competition on the open markets. By means of the extensive testing and inspection facilities of the Bureau of Standards, manufacturers can ensure the improvement and maintenance of the quality of their products. To discerning consumers, the purchasing of commodities bearing the SABS mark is an assurance that they are getting value and protection. The mark is a seal of quality, enabling the buyer to purchase with confidence. The mark of the South African Bureau of Standards is indeed the mark of approval.